Hi, Luxees. Welcome back to the Luxury Live Show. Of course, as usual, I have with me here my co host, fashionably Amy. And yeah, today we are going to do a tag. We haven't done one of these tag videos on a live for a little bit. We used to, I think we did a few previously, but we found this to be very interesting and I think it will be very interactive. It is a tag by Melon Melbourne on the 50 random facts about us. So if you haven't watched Mel's video, I will link it in the chat. In the description section later. You can go and watch it. It's super fun. I learned so much about Mel in that video, like Tim Tams. And then when she talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, I love Tim Tams. I like to do the Tim Tams dunk as well. So today, because 50, I think 50 of me and 50 on Amy, that's quite a lot. That's like 100 facts. So
That's
we've
gonna take
decided,
2 hours.
yeah, that's like 2 hours. That's like 3 hours. So we are going to do 25 on my side and then 25 on Amy. We'll combine it. So that makes 50. We're cheating a little bit, but still, that gives you 50 facts in the video. As we talk about the facts, we would love to hear about yours as well. So if you have something similar to us or you want to share something, we want to make it really, really interactive. So you can just tell us a random fact as well. Okay, so what we've done banners. So why don't you get straight into it? Because there's going to be a lot of chatter, right?
Yeah, and as you were saying, like it's sort of cheating, but not really, because at the same time we can elaborate more as we are on a live stream format. So I feel like we haven't seen each other's well, Kat has, but I haven't seen hers sharing. So it's sort of like, for me, the way I shared it, it's almost chronological. So it's almost like
Yeah.
a story. So I will definitely be elaborating more as we go.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Amy did it so chronological. I was just like, okay, 20 random facts about Cat. And I just went all in. But then so what I've done is I've combined them in little banners, you'll see. And I'll let Amy go first. And then if there's something like totally I have nothing similar, it's totally random, I will swap it out. So okay.
So
Can I just say that both of us are wearing Hermes? I
yeah.
mean, can we just take a moment to be
I
like,
I love it. Well, this scarf is one of my newer scarves. I bought it. Well, I bought it in this one. When did I buy? In the fall. So last year, and I haven't had a chance to wear it yet. I literally just took out the little, the tag on the little tag, the plastic tag, and so yeah, I'm wearing it finally and I'm just belting it with my with my Kelly belt, because
nice.
yeah, and it's quite hot this week. It feels like 25, 26, and yeah, it's hot. I know for
Ooh,
you it's nothing, but like for us this is hot.
yeah.
Especially because we don't have AC at home, so
We finally got a bit of reprieve. Is that the word?
yes.
Reprieve, like from the heat. Because I've
Yeah.
been complaining to you. I've been saying, oh my gosh, it's just so freaking hot the past few days and weeks. But the past 2 days, it's 2 or 3 days, it's been raining. So
Oh,
it's like
okay.
suddenly I can live again. It's been hot. All right, so let's get into it. So let me just pull the first banner out. Here we go. Let's start with this one.
Yeah, I'm just reading Rafide's comment. 25, 26 is cool to you. Yeah, I know. For us, it's sort of like the opposite of what happened to Cat, because last week it was like 12 degrees. And like today it's 25 degrees. So like it's a huge contrast for us. But anyway, okay, my first fact that I wanted to share is that and even I didn't know how to classify myself, because I had to look up the definition of what is considered a first generation and second generation. But anyway, I am apparently a second generation Canadian, because my parents, being I guess the first to be here, they immigrated here. They were not born and raised here, but they immigrated here. So they were considered first generation. Therefore, I'm considered second generation Canadian. I was born and raised here. And more specifically, I was born and raised in Montreal, Quebec, which is a French-speaking province. And I have two brothers. They're both
Hmm.
younger than me.
Right, right. So well, I'm the youngest and the brattiest, obviously. So I have two older brothers, both of them much old. Well, I've always thought of them as much older, but nowadays that, now that I know more people that, oh, I've got brothers that 20 years older than me, 10 years. My eldest brother is 8 years older than me, and then 6 years. It still feels like older, but as I'm now older, it doesn't feel that far apart. But when you're younger, you're like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
my brother's 8 years older than me. So anyway, yeah, I'm the youngest. It feels old because we'll never be in the same school,
Yeah.
like sort of like we'll always be, he'll be they'll be in both high school, I'll be primary school. So it just feels so far. But anyway, yeah,
So
only
I'm the
girl.
opposite
So
of you. I'm the
right.
eldest. However, even though I am the eldest and I'm the only girl, so I'm the big sister, between me and my youngest brother, we're less than 3 years apart. So I'm actually only older
Oh,
than my middle brother by like um, less than 14 months. And then between me and my youngest brother, less than 3 years. So
wow, very
we're actually really
close.
close in age, but I'm still the eldest. So yeah, anyway, there's a continuation to this story, which is, you can kind of visualize it, right? Like basically we're all babies at the same time, but and
Yeah,
then we went to the same schools. Like we always overlap in all the schools. So
yeah.
it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
It is actually. It's very different because yours is sort of, you're the eldest, so you
Yeah.
still need to, which you have mentioned that earlier. I mean, I think you mentioned that as well. But then it's not a big difference. Like for
Yes.
me, when you're young, it's like, oh my gosh, my big brother, right? So you really
Yeah.
have this visual of yours being so tiny and they're like giant, giant and older, and so much more like, but because I'm the girl as well, so I always get my way. So ready. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so as I said earlier, my parents are second generation Canadians. Sorry, recap. I am a second generation Canadian, and as my parents are first generation Canadians, they have brought, I guess they brought all their traditions, their languages, and like all the cultural things. They basically still practice the same things here, and gave them to us. So they made us practice the same thing. So at home we only spoke Cantonese. We only ate Chinese cooking food. Well, most of the time my parents are cooking anyway, and we rarely ate out. And so for me growing up, and I guess at first I didn't really know, but like, high school years, and as you become a little bit older and you have thoughts, there's been a lot of sort of, turmoil. Like you always
Mm.
feel like you're not completely a Canadian, but you're also not completely a Chinese person because, like, a real Chinese person would never really think that you're Chinese enough. And a real Canadian also doesn't think that you're Canadian enough because I've had to kind of like be living both cultures at the same time.
Interesting. So, okay, before I jump into mine, because I don't have this kind of
Mm,
identity situation, right? Because I
yeah.
am Malaysian, my parents are Malaysian, my grandparents are my great grandparents are not. They are from China, but so I'm
Okay.
like fourth, right? So I cannot see this. But
Yeah.
so would you say that a third generation Canadian will not have this anymore because
Yes.
they're further and further away?
Yes. Yes. Or at least they will have less. They will feel less of that identity crisis because, um, like I have nephews and nieces right now. They still speak Chinese because I guess my generation being the second, we
Mm,
still know and speak it fluently at home. Obviously, we don't read and write like our parents did, but we still speak it very, very well. So they chose to also speak to them in Cantonese, but they learn English pretty early on. They speak both. They speak both English and Chinese to the kids,
mm,
so they are immersed into it right away. So it's sort of like our own identity. I feel like we're kind of like the two kinds. I don't know if there's a term for that. If there is, let us know because I don't know the term. But so I feel like they will have already like a good understanding of Canadian culture, but they still get like the language portion of the the Chinese culture and also the food, obviously. But then they already immersed in both, so I feel like they will have less of an identity crisis, in my opinion, anyway. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I feel because
Mm,
I don't speak. I speak Cantonese a little bit, but it's not fluent, and it's just and I don't write, I don't read it,
yeah.
but I kind of know it. And if you ask me, I'm like, yeah, okay, okay. But I'm so immersed in the Malaysian culture, I just don't feel like I don't feel different, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it gets diluted more as
more and
more
more.
generations. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I
Okay, so
can
I
read
don't.
and write a little bit because my parents put us through a weekend Chinese school. So obviously I don't know as well as they did. They only did Chinese school back in Hong Kong. So like it's sort of it gets diluted. Um, and depending on what the parents choose to do to with the kids, it gets diluted further or a little bit less. Sort of like a mix of a mix, I think. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I don't
Mhm.
have something similar to yours, so I chose a random fact. So I'm a brat, right? But I pretty much eat everything, not picky with my food. I will,
Oh,
but
that
these
is
are
picky
things that
though. You don't
yeah,
eat.
I know. Oh my gosh. So okay,
You're
I should
missing
start.
out on all the good sashimis.
Wait. Okay, okay. Let me start with it. So I started off eating these. I started off eating raw salmon and scallops and bananas, but I never like ladies' fingers. If my mom cooks
Mm.
anything and there's ladies' fingers inside, I'll be like, no, not touching it.
Okay,
And
so wait a
then
minute. What is ladies' fingers? Just so
oh,
I know
what?
exactly.
Okay, it's like a long
Oh, is it
green.
okay, I
It's a little
guess in
slimy,
so
and it
it's like
a pod.
mollusk.
No, it's like a pod. It's like a vegetable pod, green, and
It's
it
a
has like
vegetable?
little white. It's a vegetable and it has little white seeds inside. You can go and Google it. Ladies'
Okay, I'll
fingers.
have to Google it because I have no idea what it is.
Oh, oh my gosh. Anyway, slimy, gross, like
Okay, okay,
yuck.
okay.
Usually they cook it in like stir fries, they have the vegetable like curry vegetables. I mean, when I was younger, it was totally like don't even touch the dish. But now
Oh, I know
sometimes
what those are called here. Those are called okras.
okras.
Yeah,
Okay,
I love
we call it.
okras.
Oh,
Okay, so
gross.
those are called lady fingers as well. Interesting. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
because they're like fingers, right? So I don't eat that, and then I don't eat bananas. I'll eat banana
Mm.
cake. I'll eat banana cake. I'll eat banana certain things, but I will not eat like raw banana. Like oh, and then banana smoothies. Oh
Really? Oh my gosh,
yeah,
banana's so good.
there's something about it. Like I mean, I would I would avoid it as much as I can, but
Mm.
I will eat it a little. If like it's banana, I'll eat banana cake. Okay, I'll eat fried bananas. I'll eat banana cake, but it's not like a dish that oh my gosh, bananas inside. No, it's like no bananas inside. And
That's
then
so
raw
funny.
salmon scallops is something that I developed recently.
Okay.
Like recently, it's maybe in the past 5 years. When I'm now that I'm eating like salmon, I mean raw food, raw salmon especially and scallops. There's a bit of like I don't know, like the fattiness of it. It
Yes.
gets to me after a while. I'm like, ooh, I'll eat one piece, but it's not. In the when I was younger, I would like, oh, I love, but now I don't know what happened. I developed this taste for raw salmon and scallops. I just don't eat it
Oh,
anymore. I'll eat it cooked, but not raw.
that's so interesting because I
It's like as
love
you get
fatty
older.
foods. I,
Yeah,
I
but
don't I don't love fatty foods in the sense of like deep fried and those like that. Not fatty like that. I love it when the food itself has a lot of good oils like salmon, avocados, like all those like really fat and like yummy creaminess. I love that.
I
And then
know, me
bananas. Oh,
too.
you too?
But
Okay.
I
But you just
do,
don't
but
eat salmon and scallop
yeah.
raw.
So
Okay.
let's say if there's a cooked fish, and
Yeah.
then let's say the part of the fish has all that like fats. I'll eat
Yeah.
it. I like it because it's
But just not
actually quite.
raw.
But strangely, raw salmon and raw scallops, I just don't. I don't fancy the taste. I'll eat it, but it's like when I eat it, I'm like, oh my god, this is like fishy raw. I don't know. There's something about it. It's so strange. So anyway, yeah, I saw a comment from Joe. Okay, so Joe says that I would not eat
Aubergine.
brinjal,
Yeah.
aubergine and brinjal. You
Yeah.
know what? I love it. It's the
Oh,
strangest thing. It's also a slimy
yeah.
uh food, right? But there's something about those ladies' fingers. I don't get it. So I used to be a brat. My mom cooked it. I'm like, I don't eat it. I hate it. Strange. All right. Too random. Okay.
Okay. So number 3. Let me just read what I said. Oh, okay. So I um being born and raised in a French province and a French city, I had to attend school in French. So elementary and high school was completely in French. The only sort of like, because we always have to do a second language in Canada, the only English classes we had was once a week for an hour English, but it's very easy, like, learning the very basics. So my English level, even at the end of secondary 5, it's definitely not great. Like it's probably, I don't even know how to compare it to. It's probably not good enough to even, how do you say it? To have like a deep conversation, I suppose. It's very high level conversation, like where's the bathroom, those things. Yeah. So you keep that in mind, right? Like I've only spoken Chinese at home all the time, just Cantonese, and then all of a sudden I get thrown into French school without having any knowledge. So basically I struggled because like
Mm.
nobody taught me French, and like grade 1 was a disaster. But I kind of picked it up, and I was always a good student, so I always felt like I'm doing catch up, but apparently I'm still doing great in school, except in grade 1 for the language part. But like I've always like sort of like, I always wanted to. I am a very big perfectionist, even though I didn't know that back then. But I always caught up, and but I feel inside I always felt like I had to catch up, which is the hard part, I suppose.
Mm. Well, I only spoke English all like my life. Then
Mm,
in school, our first language is Malay because it's Malaysia. So
yeah.
Malay is the first language, and then you have your second language, which is English. But because I already spoke English at home, it was not a problem. Then I had Cantonese, which is not actually a language; it's a dialect. Then Mandarin. So in school, primary school, let me see, grade. So it's when we were 10, 11, and 12, these 3 years, the school will have a special class, like 2 hours after school, 3 times a week, and they call it POL for the Chinese, okay? Because we're a multicultural school, so we have POL, and it stands for People's Own Language. I
Okay.
think in today's day and age, that would be too like just too woke. But anyway, POL. So we go for POL class, and I hated it with all my might because it was studying Mandarin. I had to write 一二三四五六七八. Oh my gosh, I hated it. But I think I was kind of cute when I was young, adorable. So the teacher took a liking for me. So I always cheated in my exams. All the exams, because she would come to me and I'll be like sitting there like face all black, like I cannot pass this exam. And I remember there was one exam where you're supposed to match the characters. Like there were um all these characters on one side and then all the other characters on the side. If you combine them, they would make a word. And for the life of me, I could not. I just couldn't see it. So the teacher would come and she'd be like, and I'm like, yay! The teacher helped me cheat, okay? I know, that's so
Oh my
bad.
gosh.
Such a brat. I was such a brat. But then obviously I didn't learn anything, obviously. Then I just couldn't. I just could not pick it up. It was just maybe there was a mental block and there was nobody to practice at home, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone was either speaking English or Cantonese. So when I came home, I'm like, 我要吃饭. who's going to reply to me? Nobody. So it was a tough. Yeah. So now I just don't speak Mandarin. I can order food, when I go to in Singapore. I think I pick up a little bit more here because I'm forced to, right? Because aunties will come and
Yeah,
talk to
more
me,
people speak
taxi
it.
drivers will talk to me like, hey, 你要吃什么? I'm like, hmm, I can't fake it, but better than nothing. Yeah, I don't speak anything but English. It sucks, right? Let's pull this one.
Well, I feel like it depends on how you look at it, because for me, struggling in French was not fun, because if you want to pass in school, you had to pass. So like
Mm.
it really didn't serve me to only speak Chinese, and the thing is, no one can help me. So just like you, no one could speak it back to me, but no one could also help me in my homework and things like that. Well, other than the teachers during the school time that you're in the school. So like I even remember back in grade 1, once in a while, I can't remember how frequently, but like once in a while they even had to like pick out select students from the class and kind of just like have like a different teacher kind of like help them with
Mm.
the material, and have more of a one-on-one. It was not one-on-one. It was maybe like 5 students and then one teacher. So I was part of that group of students that had to be picked out and kind of given more like one on more not one, it's not one-on-one, 1-on-5 time to like really kind of help them get up to speed. So it's nothing to be embarrassed, because it wasn't my fault, but it always felt like, oh, why does everyone already know it and I don't? Like it's just always
Mm.
so like I was always so self-conscious, and like I said, I always felt like I was catching up, but I guess that's just me feeling it. Afterwards, I was always one of the top of the classes, because I always strive to get better and the best I could. But at the same time, I still feel like, wow, why does everyone know everything? And I'm still just like learning it now. So that was the big difference. Um, and I don't know if anyone can really imagine themselves being in that shoe unless they have gone through it as well. Because if you already grew up speaking English or French at home and you go to French school or English school, then you're perfectly fine. You already know what the teacher is saying. Whereas I was just like I have no idea if they're, yeah, you just don't know, right? So, but yeah, it was an interesting, that's part of the identity crisis. If you think about it, like
Mm.
it's part of like just feeling like you don't belong ever, basically.
Yeah.
And it started really, really early on too.
Yeah. Well, so this is the point about you taking it at 17, right?
Okay, so yeah,
English.
the fourth one. So again, my chronological story is that so I did everything in French until I graduated high school, and I also knew, and my parents also always said that you have to know English to kind of navigate this world, especially to them.
Mm.
They knew a little bit of English. I guess their level of English is like the very high level, have you eaten, that type of English. So I decided that for my post-secondary school, which at that point we had the choice to choose English, because prior to that it was you had to do French. You had no choice unless you were born before 1980, and also both or one of your parents had official English education. But both my parents didn't, and I was born after 1980, so I had to do everything in French. So when I had the chance to do English school, I decided to do everything in English afterwards. But it was sort of for me another big shock, because you get into post-secondary school, the English level at post-secondary is very like deep and very
Mm.
difficult. We were doing poetry and things like that in class, and I was just like coming from very high level, how are you, where's the bathroom type of English, to poetry and like very technical scientific English. And I'm just like, again, catching up a whole lot. And I remember studying in the library every single day. I would go to the library and be the dictionary. I was always on the dictionary looking up words. I mean, back then, remember, we don't have phones and iPhones and things like that. It was all a paper dictionary. It's like literally, I was glued
Wow.
to the dictionary and glued to the library table. Let's just put it this way. It was very hard.
So I can, I when you talk about this, I suddenly remembered how it was tough for me to transition from a Malay speaking school, like from 7 years old all the way until I was 17 when I graduated from high school. All our everything that we studied in school was in Malay. So when you study like bio, chemistry, physics,
Yeah.
maths, it was all in Malay, right? So all the formulas that we learned, economy, puasa, kuasa, electric, everything was in Malay. But then when I transitioned into college, when I went into doing my A levels, I took physics and it was in English. And I kid you not, I died because
Yeah, that's
in
how I felt.
Malay, in Malay, you knew that the formula is let's say the formula for kuasa, which is power, right? Kuasa is what dibahagikan kepada. Okay, anyway, in Malay, right? So it's masa and everything. But then in English, suddenly it's what over time, and I was like, what? It was hard, and then it's obviously a post secondary course, right? So it's the
Yeah.
formulas are complex,
Yes.
the understanding is complex, fractions and diffractions and all that kind of things. It was in English, and the good thing is I already had, I understood English, but it was, because you're studying, it's very academic. You gotta like, crack your head again. It was not fun, but yeah. Anyway, you just power through it because you're young, right? You got nothing else to do. You just power through the course.
You had no choice. You
Yeah,
have
no
to pass
choice. Yeah.
if you want to get into university and get a good career, which is, these are very, very, very sort of deep values that our parents not having the opportunity to do so. At least my parents, they didn't have that kind of education. Their highest, my dad's highest education was primary school, actually. And my mom's highest education was high school and then nursing school. So at least my mom was more like educated from like a academics point of view, but they never had the chance and the money and the resources to go to university. So they part of the reason why they immigrated to Canada is they wanted to give their next generation a better future or better chances at a future, right? So it was sort of like ingrained in us as a value system to you need to do well in school, and which is why you always hear the stereotype of like, why are Asians so good at math and this and that? Is because we always have to excel. Like that is one requirement that we have to do, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're actually not good, but like that was like one thing that you had to do anyway. So.
All right, I think we got to speed it up. So I'll just quickly on this one. For Japanese, I have a soft spot for Japan. I've been there a few times. I love it. I love the language. I love eating it. I'm gonna have a cake right now. I just love Japan. And I decided one day I'm gonna learn Japanese. But my mistake was that I didn't understand the amount of commitment. It was so much homework, so much like studying, and I already had not an upper hand. Like the other students had an upper hand to me because I saw a comment from Joe. They understood Mandarin. So Mandarin and Japanese are very similar. They're the characters because we're learning to write and all that. A lot of the students were trying to help me. They were like, let's say they said a word in Japanese, right? Then they said, they tell me in Mandarin. They say very similar in Mandarin. And I'm like, what? What? I don't understand. Then they try to translate it in Cantonese for me. I'm like, oh. So because I didn't have that familiarity with Mandarin and then Japanese, I had to connect it Japanese to Mandarin. It was so tough that after 3 months, I gave up. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do the homework. I couldn't keep up with the homework. I was losing out on the homework because every time I did the homework, I got better. But then when I stopped doing the homework, I didn't get better. So, but I definitely want to do it again. So like I just need to like sit down and find the time. And if I don't do it now while I'm still working as an adult, I'll do it when I'm retired, because that's one language that I really, really love. And I want to read. Like I want to read. I want to read this. I'm like, what the heck am I eating? I want to read it. Kasu. I don't know what. But anyway, yeah. Definitely a language that I want to learn. All right. Here, number 5.
Okay, next. Oh, this is a long one. So, like I said earlier, I'm the eldest sister between me and my 2 other brothers, even though we're only less than 3 years apart in total. But because, in traditional Chinese culture, when you're the eldest, you're responsible for everything. So you're responsible to pave the way for your younger siblings, you're responsible to teach them things, and you're responsible to make sure they don't get in trouble, like getting hurt and things like that. And so every time something happened, I was the one to blame. But anyway, that was the way I grew up, and in a way it's kind of unfair, but it's the Chinese traditional way. And I don't know.
I love
I guess
it
I
because
took on the
you're like
role
the
of the
older part.
old sister, even though I was literally less than 3 years older than my youngest brother, which is so unfair. Like, if you think about it, I had to bathe them when I was younger. I had to bathe my younger brothers, who are literally just a year
Brats.
and 2.5 years old less than me. And then like I had to like teach them school subject. But I guess being the eldest and also being a girl, I really do feel that girls mature faster. Like I see it in my nephews and nieces too. I guess being the girl and the mature one, the eldest one, you do kind of grow up faster in a way. So I was
Mm,
able to do all of that, but it just felt like a huge responsibility on my shoulders this whole time. Obviously right now we're fine, we're all the same age, but back then I always felt like, oh my gosh, why is it so unfair? Why do I have to do this? Like, why?
growing
But
up
it
sucks,
was the
isn't
way it
it?
is.
It sucks. But I had like the total opposite experience, because I put that 2 words. That's it. I can't lose. I'm sorry. I can't lose. I'm the brat. I have to get everything. It's my way or no way. I would yell and scream, and I'll be like, Coco did it. I mean, and I had a very competitive nature. Like, even though I was the bratty one, but I had a very competitive, like, inbuilt in me, that I cannot lose to my brothers. Like, if they got an A, damn it, I'm gonna get an A plus. I mean, obviously I competed. Thank goodness the competition was academic, because my brothers were nerds. Like, oh my, so annoying. So yeah, I had the second brother who obviously I looked up to them, but at the same time, if they came home with like 7 A's, I'd be like, 7 A's, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, I have to study. So yeah, I can't lose. I can't lose in anything. I can't lose in like getting my way, and I can't lose in academics. So it was pretty bad. It was I think mentally that time, uh, it was quite toxic for me, because maybe I was just really hard on myself. Like, can't lose to my brother, but it was fun. It was fun in a way, because I was rubbing in their face, like, I got an extra A than you.
But they're so far ahead of you though. Like if you would be comparing to what they did back in school, because
Yeah.
you
So
and your brother are 8 years apart, right?
yeah. So for example, they had an exam. So when my brothers took the exam, so the exams are all the same, right? So they have the final year of primary school, and then you have the middle, like high school. We had the middle of the high school, and then after that, the last year of your high school. So we have 3 major exams in our entire schooling life. Nowadays, I think the school system has changed. So
Mm.
when you go from primary school to secondary school, you have one exam. It's called UPSR. So Ujian Pemeriksaan Sekolah Rendah, school of your exam for your primary school. That brings you to the secondary school. I think in their time, maybe it was 6 subjects or something like that, and mine was like 4 subjects. So they obviously got more A's, and I got A's. Okay, fine. Then in the secondary school, the mid-year exam, their exam was slightly named differently, and they had different subjects. But it wasn't about the subjects, it was about the A's. And I remember the last final year. So the final year before you go to college, my second brother, I mean, I love them, okay? So and now that I think back about it was so stupid. So my second brother, oh no, my first brother didn't do so well. Like he got like 6 A's. Yeah. And then my second brother, he's really, really clever. So he took 9 subjects, right? 9 subjects. And I think he got like 8 A's and maybe 1 B or something like that. And I was like, nah, you take 9, I take 10 subjects. Like psycho, right? Psycho. I took an extra subject just because he took 9. I took 10. I just had to take an extra subject. And then I don't know, I can't remember right now, but I know I'm pretty sure we got like same amount of A's. And then because I had that extra subject, it's just like, yeah.
Okay, next. So next is about a little bit more about like sort of myself. And I don't think I ever, even back then when I was younger, I don't think I ever really showed it. But I didn't grow up with self-confidence. In fact, I have very low self-confidence, but I never showed it because like I said, I always felt like I was struggling. I always felt like I feel like I'm struggling, but I'm actually always doing really well. It's just that I always was so hard on myself. So I grew up with very low self-confidence, not only because of the identity crisis, but there was also a lot of like, I guess if I could just maybe quickly describe it, like my family's dynamic was not very good. My parents were constantly fighting. There was some domestic violence, and it was always very stressful up until, I mean, my parents, even every time they visit, they're still basically fighting with each other. And like now they don't throw things at each other anymore, but still, because they're very old now, but like it's just always that very stressful environment. So just like the constant having to struggle for myself to do well, and the identity crisis, the cultural crisis, the parents crazy stuff, between everything, I grew up with a lot of very low self-confidence, and I had a lot of self-betterment, self-awareness, and kind of self-realization to do when I became a bit older to sort of improve myself, because obviously all of this is in my mind because no one sees it on the outside, but this is how you feel inside, however. So it shapes me into a very sort of complex person in a way.
Interesting. Well, this one a lot of people cannot believe, but I am actually quite introverted. Like I may seem like, I think we always say like on camera, it's like, oh, so cannot imagine. But truly, in reality, I don't really mix around very much. Like I'm quite so I don't know if there's a real term, but I read somewhere there's this called introverted, extroverted. Like you have a very introverted self, but you can turn on an extrovert. And you need to in certain social settings. But if I overdo it, like when I go all out, and I don't overdo it sort of like purposely, but it comes naturally in a way, like, oh, I need to be present for that moment. And therefore, I have this like switch. And the switch is almost subconscious. But then if I overdo it too many times, I get flat out. Like I can just lie on the floor for a few days, like, why am I so tired? And I don't realize it. So maybe that's mentally draining. Because I was asking a few friends, I said, who are truly, they're extrovert. I asked them, I said, how do you recharge? They said, oh, I go out. I'm like, what? You go out. And that's how real extroverts, they recharge. They need that group of people to bring them out from a slump. Whereas for me, if I do that, I just get worn out. So I realized that I have this internal, external behavior that when I need that peace, I really, really need it. But then when I need to turn it on, I actually can, because I have that nature as well. So very interesting. This one only I realized in the like later years, maybe in my 30s.
I've always been an introvert, and I don't think you can change those things because it's part of your personality. And like a lot of people confuse what introvertedness and extrovertedness is. It's just the way you um it actually is the way you get energy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I need a lot of me time and quiet time, which is why I love being independent. I love just being in my own space, and that's what recharges me. So on the other hand, that's what an extrovert needs. They need sort of like people around them. That's how they recharge. But if we get into too much of the other space, that's what drains us. So it's sort of like it's very interesting,
Very
and
interesting. Yeah.
you can change in a way that you can learn a little bit of the each other's way of recharging, but like I don't think you can completely change. That is the thing. Yeah. And I
Okay.
learned that I've always known that, but I've learned that more into like actual theory and details when I took some graduate courses in leadership, and we were studying that actually, and all the different, even like within introvertedness, there's so many types, and like you can be an extreme where like you literally see nobody, and the way you
Mm.
function is totally different, and you can still be a varying degree of that, and there's no right or wrong actually. Yeah. Okay, next one is number 7. Yes. So, a little fun fact about me, which I don't know if I've ever even talked about, but during my younger years, and I think as far as I could remember, I was like 10 years old. So as early as I could learn to sew, I was sewing already because that was one thing that I did a lot of instead of homework and instead of playing. I helped my mom sew because we needed money. So I kind of grew up in a family with a lot of financial difficulties throughout. And so even the kids had to help out with chores and everything, which, in a sense, it's good to know how to do chores. But in addition to that, I also was helping her with her actual work. So, which is why sewing is a skill that I had ever since I was in elementary school.
That's that's really good. Like she's
I
so
don't know, I
responsible,
hated
right?
it because,
No, but
like you're
I mean,
spending
like you're
hours
so.
there sewing and like doing things with your hands, and like it's just a lot of like your neck and like everything.
I know, but you're
But it's
so
a good
responsible.
skill, I guess, because you
Like
can
we're
fix your own clothes.
Jekyll and Hyde right here. Like I totally like you're like working, and I'm like I want to get tongue piercing, which is exactly what I did. I got a tongue piercing when I think I was 19. Okay, maybe all right. Maybe I think after high school, when I've expended all my responsibilities as a young child, getting all the good grades, which is responsible. I said, okay, that's it. Getting a tongue piercing, and I'm getting a tattoo. But and let me tell you, the tongue piercing is the funniest thing because I got pierced, and I think in those days you don't have research, you don't know what happens to your body when you get a tongue piercing. So when you get a tongue piercing, your tongue like this thick, swells up to this thick. It's like,
Oh.
woo.
Mhm.
It's like a piece of flesh. Okay, so I couldn't talk. I was like, my mom was asking me, "What do you want to eat?" Porridge. Porridge. What? Porridge. I'm sick. Porridge. And then the same night, my mom said, "Open your mouth. Let me see what is that thing." And I'm like,
There's no way you can hide that.
I know. Like you think you can do anything, right? When you're young and stupid. So yeah, I got a nice. Actually, you know what? Come to think of it, my mom didn't like yell and scream. She just looked at me. She's like, "Why you go and do these things, ah? If you get infection, literally that kind of like
That's true.
it's like the passive aggressive scolding, like just like like she's given up hope, that kind of thing." And I'm like, mm, you'll come around. After that, she just totally just ignored it. Like, another thing I have to deal with. I know, what's such a menace. Okay, number 8.
Kids all have very different personalities. Okay, so number 8. So as I was saying, I was working at a very young age, and it was for free, obviously, when I was doing it for my mom. But as soon as I could work for myself and start saving money for myself, and I'm pretty sure I was 12 years old when I started doing part-time jobs and summer jobs. I did all kinds of jobs, countless numbers of jobs. I don't even remember all the places I worked to, but I worked in farms. I worked in so many restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King. I worked in a lot of like, like the mall food courts and doing all kinds of stuff, not just cashier and serving food, but also like, I guess when you work at a Burger King and you do closing, you have to clean the washrooms, clean the floor, all those things. And you also are the cashier and the cook at the same time. So like it was very hard work. I worked in retail. I worked at my back at my elementary school. I also worked at helping students with their homework, and then I did banking as well. So all of that I did throughout my younger years, which again I feel like it's my way of experiences and my way of shaping into the kind of like the independent person that I am today, which you cannot say that young people now even do a fraction of. Like haven't even met a person right now in their teenage years, not even as young as me, but like in their older teenage years doing any sort of work, because it seems like kids nowadays have everything, which is very blessed, but it's a very big contrast, very very huge contrast, I feel.
I did a little bit of work, but not as much as you. I think what shaped me is my parents. So my whole family. So my dad, my brothers, because I'm competitive. But anyway, even though but I wanted to be quite similar. So my dad, my brother, and my both my brothers, they did engineering. So my dad's an engineer. My two brothers are engineers, and I thought, you know what? If they're gonna study like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, or whatever engineering, I'm gonna be an architect. So I had like what shaped me. It was more of like looking forward, right? I did a little bit of those odd jobs here and there, but yeah, I wanted to be this architect, like draw and kind of do work in that same field. But it didn't happen because apparently being an architect is really expensive. So I mean, we didn't come from a well-to-do family, so I just like, okay lah, do something else because like we cannot afford it. So yeah, that was like a dream being smashed, I guess, maybe.
Oh, I want. Okay, so that was not a fact that I added in there, but what I dreamed of becoming back then was either a fashion model or someone who works in the fashion industry, which of course I didn't get into because to get into fashion school you had to pay out of pocket. Like there was no government subsidy and it was very expensive. I couldn't afford it. But that was one of my dream jobs, which obviously I guess I'm just doing it via YouTube now as a hobby. But anyway, fact number 9 is that I paid for my own education with the money that I saved because I've always been working, and I guess I can be proud of the fact that I was able to buy my own clothes, buy my own lunches, and all of that, like to help out the family, right? Like I still lived at home, but like at the same time, me and my brothers, actually my brothers too, we all spared the burden of having to, like, for my parents to have to pay for our education, because at the end of the day, even though it's subsidized, part of it is subsidized, it's still very expensive to go to university, right?
Mm. See, you're so responsible. No, man.
Too
Whatever
responsible, but
I
we had to. We
bought,
had no choice.
whatever I bought, whatever I worked, I shopped. Okay. Well, I didn't buy. Well, did I buy a lot of things? Yeah, I bought a lot of bratty things like little bags, little clothes, little sweets. Did all the odd jobs, like mow lawns for school. Worked in some retail for a little bit. But yeah, no, I spent everything. I spent every single cent. Dang, forget it.
Well, I spent money too, but at least it was better to not have to ask my parents. I felt better about that. Okay, so fact number 10 is that I actually met two of my best friends at different times, but I met two of my best friends in high school. And unfortunately, they both moved away so far. Actually, my first best friend, she moved to Sydney, Australia when I was in grade 10. We still keep in touch. In fact, I attended her wedding. And then my other best friend, we met after grade 10, and we still keep in touch as well. But she also moved so far away. Well, not as far, but in the USA, in San Jose, which is why um, it's so hard. Like, best friends are like for life, I feel like. Those are the friends
Mm,
that doesn't matter what you talk about. And like when you see each other, you kind of just pick up from where you left off, which is so
true.
crazy because I would not see my friends for 10 years and then we would just pick up from where we left off, which is so crazy. But yeah,
It's true. It's true. So
yeah.
I've got my best friend in Australia. She just came from from Australia like a couple of weeks ago, and I haven't seen her for like maybe 5, 6 years. We do talk here and there, but then like I haven't seen her for like long time. And you're right. Came over. I'm like, what do you eat? Like it's like we never ever were apart. But we
Yeah.
were apart because she's
Yeah.
totally different life, right?
Yeah.
Family, kid,
Yes,
being a
yes,
whole
yes.
housewife and all that. And I'm totally like, what? So we live so different lives, but we picked up from wherever it is and it was fun. And my other best friend who's passed away, she passed away of breast cancer about, let me see, 2019. So just before COVID.
Mm.
Yeah, just before COVID. So get checked. Okay, get checked. Ladies, get checked. So it's because of her I get checked like every single, well, I haven't done it this year, but yeah, I try to get checked every year now because it was so sudden. Yeah. So but you're right. It is, yeah, you're best friends for life and they don't come very often in your lives, right?
It's harder to make best friends, I feel, later in life because, like,
Mm,
for example, in university, I know you can still make best friends in university, but like for me, I was so busy in university. First of all, I was working and then I had school, and then like university was very difficult for me because well, you guys will see, I went into a technical field which I had no idea about.
let's pull
And
that one.
obviously, as the very well performing person, I always studied very hard. So anyway, fact number 11 is that I graduated in computer sciences, and that's of all the things I could do, I chose computer science. Why? Not because I loved it. It's only because at the time, because I went into university in year 2000, at the time, the information technology industry was sort of like kind of the trend. It was booming. And I literally like blindly picked something to study. That's why. Not because I had any understanding of it. I didn't even know what it was about. And let me tell you, it's super hard when you have no idea what you're getting into. Oh my God.
My degree was an accident. So I
Same,
always
same.
tell, yeah, I always tell people like I had no idea what I want to study because I guess maybe for us, like if any of you are the same, where your parents they don't really guide you to what you study because they themselves are also not well informed. Like they do what they do to survive, right? So my parents just, my mom's a teacher, they just do whatever. Then they say, study like whatever you want, right? You want, but they cannot really guide you and say this is the right course, this is the right thing to study. How about this? As compared to now when I look at my niece and nephew. So mine was that I was like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And my college, right after college, when I went into university, it was the financial crisis. So because in Malaysia, I was studying college so that I can study in the UK, United UK, because I was thinking like, okay, my brother is there, and UK was the thing, but because of the financial crisis, it was in 1999, everything became so expensive. £1 just went. I mean, now it's just the same, but £1 then, from I think it was like three or four ringgit to £1, it doubled overnight. It became 8 ringgit to £1. America was out of the question. $5 or something, 5 ringgit to a dollar. It was just so insane. My parents just couldn't afford it. They were like, no, you figure it out. You figure it out now. Actually, they didn't say that. I think they were probably struggling to say, what are we going to do with this one last child that we need to finance, right? But then I remember walking. I think I was blessed. Okay, somebody is looking out for me, man. So anyway, I was walking down the college, outside the college, and I walked past this building. It was the IDP, it's an English school. And outside this school, there was this little piece of paper, I swear, and I still so vividly remembered it. One A4 paper, light green, stuck on that glass panel. And I was walking alone, and I looked and I was like, ooh, what is this? It was a scholarship to study in Australia in the University of Queensland and you need to study in their business school for economics or econs or whatever. And I looked at it, I said, I'm gonna try. Because I didn't know what to do, right? Like what heck, just try lah. And I got it. So it totally shifted from studying, in UK, doing whatever I was gonna do. I ended up in Australia, Brisbane, doing econs, which I had little understanding of it, but who would have thought? Like, it was just a total shift, which is why I'm now an econs grad. But you know what? I've never used it. Never used my economics graduate. Like, I should have worked in a bank, but no. Yeah.
It's all good because I learned, especially now, so many years into my career, that whatever you learn in school, you don't even apply 10% of what you learn in school anyway.
Yeah.
Everything you have to do at work, you have to learn from work anyway, because it's never going to be exactly the same as what you learn in school. What school does for you is that it teaches you how to study and to be resourceful. That's what school does for you.
Yep. It teaches you that discipline. Like, dang, I need to pass up this assignment. Now I'm in deep trouble. It teaches you that discipline. It teaches you how to think. But otherwise, honestly, it was a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah. I mean, when you go to work, you still have to learn anyway. You have to always be learning. If you are someone who likes to be successful, you always have to learn. You always have to pivot. So anyway, as part of my cooperative degree, from my undergrad degree, I had to do four, what do you call them again, semesters of internships. That is part of the requirement to graduate. So as part of my cooperative education, I actually did 2 of those semesters. So 1 year in a company in Ottawa. So it was actually they call them IBM now. Back then it was called Cognos. So I worked at IBM as a software engineer, and I lived in Ottawa by myself. And I loved it because it was one of the first times where I felt like, not only was I, very proud of what I've achieved so far, but also I love the freedom of just being by myself. Some parts of it has to do with the fact that I'm introverted, but also I liked the fact that I was away from all the noise in my family, right? Like all the constant disturbances and quarrels and stuff like that. So it was good and bad, but like I loved my experience in Ottawa, and I met some of the greatest people that kind of helped me grow as a person, because those were my colleagues, but they were like much older, and my boss back then, they were very instrumental in helping me believe in myself, because again, I always felt like I was struggling. I always almost even told my boss, I'm like, oh, are you gonna fail me? And he's like, what are you talking about? You're like one of our best interns, and like, you don't stop being so hard on yourself and this and that, blah blah blah. Like, he was one of the person that really helped me grow as a more confident person in myself, even though I was doing perfectly fine, but in my head I was not doing fine. That's what I told myself. So yeah.
Right. So I was like, what do I have? I don't have something similar, but I do have something random, because apparently Ottawa is freaking cold.
Yeah. Well, it's not as cold as, it's very similar to Montreal. So they're probably about the same, but Montreal is a bit colder, I feel, even.
So Ottawa, so I was reading, I was like, oh, must be some cold place, right? But for me, randomly, I've only seen snow once in my life. And that was totally by accident in Zurich. we were going for a little like day trip up to Jungfrau, which is the mountains. And we were told I was not prepared. I was just wearing like a t-shirt, pair of jeans, and sneakers. We were not expecting. We just thought it was like chilly, a little jacket. But then it rained. It was raining up that mountain, and that rain turned into snow, and it was like a real snowstorm. So yeah, I was freezing to death. I thought I was gonna get hypothermia and I was gonna lose a few fingers and toes. But for the first time in my life, I saw snow. I actually was like, oh my God, this is a bad idea. I'm only wearing sneakers. The snow is gonna get into my feet. My feet are gonna be frozen. But I jumped into snow. I was like, yoo-hoo! I regretted it later. But yeah. So you lived and loved the cold country. No, I think I'm not a snow person. It's just bad.
I lived my whole life with snow still. Even in Vancouver, it snows, and I still don't love it. I mean, I love looking at it because it's pretty to look at from the inside when you're warm and fuzzy inside, but like when you have to go outside and it becomes slush as the cars kind of like breaks it apart and it melts and your shoes and it's a nightmare. And you have to
Yeah.
shovel. You have to shovel all the
Oh,
time. Okay, so this is a short one for those of you who constantly ask me what I do. I still do the same thing. I'm just an IT professional. So I think it makes sense now because of the whole
yeah. It
chronological
makes
background.
But it's really good that you're very consistent. Like you just became like whatever you did, and now you're IT and you're IT. If you ask me my career, like, some people have asked me like, "What do you do?" And I swear, I think
You
I
just
live
do the
my
same
life,
thing.
and I don't. I have done so many different things in my
Oh,
life.
but now.
But now, no, actually, even in this current career of mine, I have done several different things, and they were all different. So in my like how many years I've been working, I have been a consultant. I've worked in an audit company. I have worked in IT, banking per se, similar project management. I have done corporate work like mergers and acquisitions. I've done a lot of these weird things that if you ask me, I really don't know what I've done. But now in the current state of my life, I have a little bit more stability. But it's totally nothing to do with econs. I'm doing software development, a little bit of it, but in a very business world. It's so strange. So at least you can say I'm an IT professional. I've done it for how many years? I cannot because every phase in my life has
Right.
changed. My career has gone do this, do liquidation, do a bit of law work, do some project management, be a consultant, work in the CEO's office, jumped around so much. But obviously, in each of these phases, and they're not short, they're not like 1 year or 6 months. They're all like 3 years, 2 years, 3 years. I yeah, it's been fun. It's been quite. It's always learning, doing something different, and now
Yeah.
I'm in another phase of doing and learning something different. So interesting. So, but anyway, randomly, I have a bad sense of smell. I love perfume, but I cannot smell. I cannot. I have a like it's like selective smelling. There's some smells that I just cannot smell, and it's nothing to do with COVID. All this while, people will say, "Oh, what a nice smell." I'll be like, "What? I can't smell anything." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that rubbish! Oh my god, it's so smelly." I can't smell. So pro and con, I can't smell good things. But if it's like a dumpster, I can't really pick it up.
That's
Random.
so interesting because unlike you, I can smell everything, and the fact that I am so sensitive to fragrances, I'm kind of sad because I can't enjoy perfumes, like I've mentioned several times already. But I guess that's the thing, though. Like, about the career thing, I suppose just like the way I would answer if I were you, I would just answer like like if your company is a banking company, you can just say banking, I suppose. Because even
Yeah.
and when I say IT professional, it's so broad, right? IT is so
Mm.
big. There's so many aspects and different fields of IT. So I don't even want to bother explaining all the different IT different things that I've done. I just say, yeah, I'm just an IT professional and that's it. Like that way whether they understand it or not, whether they want to get into it more or not, depends
I could
on
use
the
it. I
person.
could
Yeah.
use it. I could use it. Yeah, I'm an IT professional.
Yeah, that's
But
all I need. That's all I say, because like it's
but you know
so
what?
hard.
Oh my gosh! You know what I have? It actually, you know what problem that I have, which I probably read. I have imposter syndrome. I feel like I have imposter syndrome when I say that I'm an IT professional, because honestly, I don't think I'm qualified to say that. But anyway, I'll use it. I'll use it. If it gets people off my back, like, yeah, IT professional.
Okay, so I was born and raised in Montreal. I lived most of my life in Montreal, still to this day. So Montreal is my hometown, but I have been living in Vancouver since 13 years now. So Vancouver is definitely my home now. So that is why I have, well, I mean, it explains my French background, but it also explains why I love Vancouver so much, because that's where I live now.
Mm. Well, I've been in Singapore for 12 years, 10 years, 10, maybe it's the 11th year. I think so. I have to count. Yeah, I think it's about solid 10 years, but the first 2 years of before that, I think I was traveling a bit. But obviously I go back. Malaysia is my hometown. My family's there. I live here, work here, do a lot of things here. I built a life here, but I still have my home because my family is back in
Mm.
Malaysia. COVID definitely made a lot of changes in my life. Like, I was traveling so much, but now with after COVID, I found a little bit more stability, and I need that stability. It has created that. So yeah, not too angry about that.
Okay, so fact number 15 is that I actually met my husband here as well. We got married here. But the fun fact is that I was actually engaged in Australia. In fact, it was in Manly Beach. We still have all the photos and everything. And I always remember that, because that was my second trip to Australia, because, I visited my friend the first time, like ever since she moved away. I was in high school, right? So obviously I didn't have money and the time to visit her. So I visited my friend the first time in 2011. 11, yeah. 2011, I visited her. I think I stayed with her for like 3 weeks, which was so great. Like I said, you kind of don't see each other for over a decade. You pick it up where you left off. And then she was getting married in 2000, and oh my gosh, I'm getting all my numbers. 2011, I saw her. 2012, was she getting married? I think so. So that's when. So I went back the next year, but this time with my fiance. Well, I guess my boyfriend at the time,
Boyfriend.
now husband. So we went back to the following year, and then I got engaged in. So it was like a special trip, because not only do I get to be part of the wedding, my best friend's wedding, but I was also engaged there. So it was sort of like, wow, crazy.
Did you know that he was gonna propose?
No,
Oh, so
no.
it was some surprise.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
totally. I had no idea. The thing is, like,
nice.
because we had only met each other for just like a year by then. And I he's the kind of guy that likes to be married, whereas, not that I'm not, but I just was thinking like, that's too soon. Like, don't even think about it, like, in my head. And also I always said, like, yeah, no, that's too soon. I don't want to marry you now. Like, I want to get
Mm.
to know you more. But like, I guess he felt it was the right time. So that's what happened. Like, literally,
Oh.
it happened so fast. I feel like, there's all kinds of different relationships, but like, it was like that with him. He just wanted to be married. And that was nice.
Oh. Okay, before I go to mine, because I found something similar. So before, like nowadays, a lot of those engagement stuff, like engagement videos that I watch on Reels, like when I asked you if you knew that he was going to propose,
Yeah.
and you gave the answer, which to me is in a way expected, because when my husband had proposed to me, I I didn't actually, I was totally surprised by it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I kind of know in a way, but know as in like we'll probably get married, but it's just that it was a
Right.
surprise, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays, when I watch these kind of engagement videos, it's so elaborate.
Oh, then,
And
yeah.
and I feel like they kind of planned it beforehand, and then it's more of so it's like you pick the ring together, da 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 da, and then you say,
Mhm.
okay, so you kind of know your ring already, because your fiance or your boyfriend that time will go together with you to pick the perfect ring. Then you he keeps the ring, and then it's just when is he going to propose.
Right.
But it's sort of like pre-planned, so you're not really surprised with the ring, you know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
in my old-fashioned brain, it doesn't make sense. Like, you want to be surprised with the whole package, the whole thing. But I just feel it's a little bit like, I should use the word fake lah, but I feel like it's a little fake nowadays. I don't know. Call me
Oh,
old-fashioned.
I don't know if
It's
it's fake, but more like you just, I guess maybe these days
it's
you,
more practical.
yeah, it's more practical. You want to know that what you're getting is what you expect, sort of thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
and it's not
maybe.
bad. Like, I
I
guess,
don't think it's
okay.
bad, but I feel like it's just it misses the whole element of being surprised, because it's
Right.
surprise means it's like, oh my, what, that is like the ring, that's surprise. But this one is sort of like, you know already, right? And then it's just the surprise is the proposal.
Uh,
I feel
yeah.
like
Well, in
it's
a way,
too.
I felt like mine was like that in a way too. Like, okay,
Did
so
you
like I
plan
said,
your ring? You
okay,
planned
no,
your
well,
ring.
the thing is, like, I always knew he wanted to get married. I just always said, like, I think it's too soon, but I love that that's his goal. So in a way, we've talked about like what kind of rings I
Fair.
like, and I was just so simple. I was like,
Oh,
just the classic stuff. And then we didn't buy
no,
the
I
ring
think that's
together.
okay. Yeah, that's okay. Like, you talk about the marriage, talking about getting married, what kind
Right.
of ring, then you kind of like, like talk about it, but you don't really know. But the ones that I'm talking about is like, you go and pick the ring
Uh,
together,
oh
and
yeah,
then
okay.
they're like, okay, we like this size, we like the big da da da.
Right,
Then they
right, right.
keep it, and then you just know in your heart there's going to be some elaborate proposal. You just don't know when.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
that element is missing,
Yeah.
which is what I see today. So
Mm.
anyway, sorry, sidetrack. Because I just sometimes I look at the rings and proposals, they're like, that's just so perfect. That's just
It is perfect.
fits
It's true. It's true. I guess.
fits just nicely. It's just
Well,
nice.
did
It's
you have
everything.
any requirements when you like
No.
no? Okay. Well, I had some requirements. I didn't want the ring to be too small or too big.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I did only say I want a big ring.
Okay. Like, I was being reasonable. Like, I knew that, diamonds were expensive, obviously, but I also didn't want it, like, I wouldn't say no to a small ring, but it was just sort of something that I knew I wanted to love for the rest of my life. So, having that kind of like how do you call it? Like an integer number, like a one instead of like a 0.8, something like
Mm,
that. Like a 1 carat would be like the perfect ring sort of thing. So like, um, that's what happened. That's the only requirement I had, and then just the like a round Berlin cut, which is the most classic of like you just can't go wrong with classic. That was sort of like the only
right.
like some of the things that we talked about, so that he had an idea, right? Like, I
Yeah.
didn't request for a 2 carat or anything. I just said, you know what, round number one is good.
Yeah. That's funny, because but I said to my husband then, my boyfriend, I want a big ring, big ring, So you must remember, my husband's. I mean, he's very simple. So big means it's 大個鼻屎 like that. You know what I mean? Like,
So
I,
that's why having a certain like
yeah, but
more,
I didn't, because I knew that we're not rich. I mean, we could not afford it. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
so I just said,
Well,
please don't give me a face like one of these like tiny ones, right? Which is also
like
like,
a
oh my,
0.25.
point.
No, 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 totally. Like, I think we're both very like, I was very like, obviously I still think that I came from a very humble, and like my upbringing, my whole like growing up was still very humble. I still feel like I live very humbly in a way. So I never wanted something that was it's not that I wouldn't love something super extravagant and huge and everything, but I also knew that I wanted something that I felt comfortable wearing every day, that I would love for the rest of my life, and that it's classic and this and that. So it's a very practical sort of want as well, which I think it was very reasonable from my part, and then I think what my husband did was very reasonable too. So like sort of you sort of give and take, I suppose. Like I would have loved, I think I would still love a 2 carat ring, but like I also knew that it's
Get it on
more
your
than double
own.
the price. So it's like you know what I
We'll
mean.
we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it now. We'll just get it ourselves. Okay, so I'm going on to this one. So similar, like I guess hubby. So I gym. Like I've always been quite like this is this competitive perfectionist nature when I was young. So I always like to look good, right? So, but I was
Mm.
always a little chubbier because I like my food. So I would gym, I would go exercise, I would run. But I started gymming like really young, like going to the gym when gyms were not really very popular. Gym, and I actually met my husband at the gym, and yeah, he was the class instructor. Ew, ew. I was
Oh,
one of
I think
those.
that's cute.
I was one of those like, ooh, gym instructor.
Plus, I could not imagine you being chubby ever. So I honestly, I don't think you were. Like I
I
saw
mean,
some
it's
of
it's
your photos with your fuller face. I wouldn't call that chubby at
yeah, but you
all.
know when you're young, you're always
Oh
hard on
yeah,
yourself, right? Yeah.
I
So
guess so. Yeah.
that's that body, what's the word? Body dysmorphia. When
Yes.
you
Yes.
see
Yes.
what you see, and then you see all these like your school friends who are like sticks, and you're like, oh my god, I'm the chubby kid. But even though actually, if you think back about it, it's not right. It's not.
You
But
were probably a
that's
stick as
obviously in
well. So.
hindsight, right? Hindsight. But anyway, it was this yeah, I met my husband in the gym, and he was the class instructor. It was quite an experience to meet him. Yeah, that was the
Okay, so I think I've always said that my favorite color since as long as I could remember is the color red, and I always wanted to wear red, especially when I was younger. I always picked the red coat, the red dress, this and that. I still love red to this day. I am just more practical in the sense that I don't always buy red, obviously, but I would incorporate some red here and there, but um still red is my favorite color though. I don't dress red all the
mm.
time, but I still is my favorite color. Yeah.
I, I I changed my favorite color over the years. So I used to love purple when I was maybe 10 or 11. Everything purple. Purple shoes, purple bag, purple lilac, all purple for years. And then it sort of transitioned to pink. So I had a pink phase as well for a while. I still do. I still like pink, but I just don't incorporate it very much into my wardrobe because maybe it's a little too sweet, which is why I actually bought the pink Rose Sakura Garden Party 36. It was not too long
Hmm.
ago, right? That was in maybe 8, 9 years ago. I was still in my pink phase. I loved it. I think I had a Hello Kitty element to it. Then now I have moved on to green, and green was started off because I liked this green. Well, my husband bought me this green bag. It was from Bottega. And after that, I was like, wow, I like green. But I could never incorporate a lot of green. But then over time, it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And now it's just like, yeah, okay, green is the right color. Right. Purple. I think I still like purple and pink, but it's just harder to match in my lifestyle. Green
Hmm.
seems to fit me more now.
Okay. Okay. So some of my favorite foods when I grew up, I just, you know what? It's not even true that I loved eating everything, but only because I think when I was very, very, very young, I was always sick. Like I was a very sick child growing up. And so my parents always made me eat like like Chinese medicine, the stuff that tastes bitter. And then they would
Mm.
make me eat like liver and chicken gizzard, like all kinds of like stuff that no kid would ever want to eat. But other than that, other than those things, because I don't want to say that I'm a picky kid. I don't think it's even fair to call me a picky kid for having to eat those things. So other than that, my favorite foods back then was bak chikai, so steamed chicken.
Mm,
Um, I love
I'm
the way
hungry
my
now.
dad did sweet and sour pork. His one was the best, literally. I love chocolate. I mean, I love all kinds of food, but like those were literally my faves when it comes to dinner time. If they make those, oh, so good, love it.
Oh, I love it. I should say that as well. I should edit that. I love curry because I'm a curry kid.
Mm.
I think I follow my dad, and it probably is in my DNA. Okay, because my grandparents, when they were working and my dad was young, my grandparents were hawkers. You know those the do you know hawkers are? Do they have that
Kaya
in
naman.
no,
No?
hawker.
Oh, then I don't know.
Okay, in Asia, Singapore and Malaysia, we have hawkers. HAWKER. Hawkers. They are stall owners that they cook.
Oh, okay.
They call them hawkers, and maybe that's not a right.
Okay.
I don't know. It's localized word. So they own like stalls, and they cook food and sell. So my grandparents were cooking curry meat. they were
Mm.
they were curry meat hawker sellers. So my grandma used to make curry every morning, and my father would tell me that he would peel the cockles and see hama, all this everything, and it was tauge and all this stuff in the morning. And for years until I think they didn't do it anymore. My grandfather was a carpenter as well, so then my dad, I think because he grew up eating that food, right? Your mom is a store owner cooking curry noodles,
Yeah.
that she loves curry, and I love it as well. Both of us are like curry, yeah, curry. So I think it's in my DNA. I just love curry, and if it's with rice, oh my gosh, sweat, obsessed. And now I'm obsessed with natto, which you need to try because you like healthy food. Oh,
And I like
natto.
rice. I mean, I love healthy food. Don't get me wrong. I eat clean now because of, and then we'll get into it. But I honestly love all foods, and it's just healthy, non-healthy. I love everything. But these are just some of my favorites when I was growing up. So
Right. Okay,
yeah.
let's go for this one. Let's also
So
food.
now that I'm an adult, well, I've been an adult for a while, so you know, I love my coffees, but especially in ever since I got my coffee machine, which my brother gave to me after we came back from our trip from Europe. So after our trip from Italy and Barcelona, all these places where they serve real espresso, literally they would have a stall in the middle of nowhere on the highway, and they would sell espresso for $1 for €1, and it's so good. So ever since then he got me an espresso machine, and I cannot get enough. It's still my favorite, literally the favorite thing of my entire day. The thing that I look forward to when I wake up is my Nespresso coffee. I love
Which one kind?
any kinds of
Espresso.
vegetables, any,
Mm.
literally, like including your okra. And then I love soups. I just love food. Food makes me happy, honestly. But I
Mm.
opt to eat clean only because it's the healthier thing to do, and also because I have to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love food, but yeah, I have some weird like changes since getting older. Okay, like for example, I just don't eat raw salmon. Just don't have no
Mm.
taste for it. But I have this very weird, okay, not weird,
Oh.
very not weird. I want you. That's not the right word. I have a I have a I have a princess element, okay, in me, that I do not like to peel fruits. I don't. I'll cut them.
Really?
I'll cut them, but I don't like to peel like oranges. Like if you give me a mandarin orange, like Chinese New Year, you get the mandarin oranges,
Yeah.
then you gotta peel it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do. Oh my god, peel orange. But then if you ask me like those California oranges where it's hard to peel,
Yep.
I don't like it. I don't like to get my fingers digging into all that, the not veins, but all that fibers stuff. I do not like it. I don't like to peel mangosteens. I don't like lychees, longan. I just I'll do it if I'm forced to, but I would rather not eat the fruit. And this is
That's
a
so
princess.
fun.
This is a princess element because, as I said
Totally, yeah.
earlier, I am a brat. I was born. My mom, my mommy, I love you, would peel all the fruits for me.
Oh my God, Kat, oh my God, that's something I didn't really know for sure about you, obviously, but you know what you remind me of? Because like, ch good thing you don't have children, because with children, you have to peel everything and you have to cut into tiny little
I know,
pieces and you have to make sure there's no seeds, nothing too hard because they can
I
choke and
know,
things
I
like that. So
know.
like you would like, and you have to serve them fruits obviously because it's a healthy food. You wouldn't be able to then you have to
But
remove
no,
the
no, I
seeds
think, but
from
the thing
like
is, I would do it. I think if I love it enough, I'll do it. So when I was
mhm.
young, like I hated. Okay, I love to eat grapes. Okay, nowadays you can buy seedless grapes, but in the
There's
past,
still
like in
seeds
the old,
inside sometimes.
yeah, in the old days, right? Those the seed the grapes with seeds are the cheaper grapes, and then
Yeah.
usually the seeds are like freaking big, like
Yeah,
four or
yeah.
five damn
And there's
seeds.
like
It's like
five of
one,
them.
like God, how many seeds do you need in a grape, right? But they're big. So I loved grapes, and my mom would love my mom. She would cut
Ah!
the grape. She would cut the grape in half. Okay,
Oh
and
my
she would
God,
dig out
Kat.
all the seeds
Oh
for
my
me,
God, Kat.
and there'll be a whole container of it waiting for me to eat. Oh my God, what a life! But and I would do it also. So if my mom wasn't free, I'll be like, I'll be sulking, obviously, but I would do it. I'll sit there and I'll cut each grape. Right, it felt like an assignment. I will cut it and I'll pluck it, and then I'll have this container of grapes, and I'll be so proud of it. Then my brothers would eat it, and then I'll be like extremely like annoyed, like cry. "Ah, my hard work on grapes." So anyway, yeah, I have this princess thing that if I can, I don't want to do it because every time I go back to KL, which I think some of you have watched my vlogs, there are always fruits cut for me.
Oh my gosh, bless your mom. That is so
I
cool.
know she loves
But if
me.
you
I
if
love
you were
her.
in my position, my mom would be like, if you don't eat it, you don't get it. It's like you do your thing. I'm not doing all that stuff for you guys. Like she barely even has enough time to herself. So like, and then look after three kids and work at the
I
same time. It's
know.
like, no, you're doing your chore, you're eating your thing, you're on. Like you don't eat it, you don't get it. So that's it. And we always just like, okay, we just did it because it was the right thing to do.
I
Oh,
know.
so
So bad.
funny.
I love my mom. Oh my God.
Okay, so this one is a little less fun, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you have
Oh, wait, wait, wait,
heard
wait,
at
wait,
one
wait, wait.
point.
Before you go on, hang on. I
Uh-huh.
have to I have to pull this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mary, you see? I'm not the only one.
Oh, you're not the only one. I know many people like you, but I'm just saying.
It's funny. I know. It's funny.
uh, I'm just saying, like, I'm definitely the opposite of that. Um, okay, so as I was saying, and I have mentioned many times, but a lot of you still don't remember, or maybe don't know, or haven't heard. I actually have a chronic disease, and I still do because when I was 27, unexpectedly one day I just couldn't walk. Like literally, my ankles was swollen, my knees were swollen, my thumb. No, it was this finger, not my thumb. This finger, which is still a little swollen. Um, it was very swollen, and all of a sudden, I didn't know what was happening to my body. I was in pain everywhere, and I got diagnosed with a chronic disease called SLE, which is stands for lupus for short. But unfortunately, this is the reason why I've had to learn to kind of eat clean and did a lot of different things to get my health at a better place. But it's with me for the rest of my life. So yeah, not
Hmm.
fun, but it's part of me, which is it's an invisible disease. No one can really see it. So you guys will never really guess that I have pain. Like I have pain right now, but like no one would know.
Hmm.
So, but it is what it is. And yeah, in a way, and I'll share in the next fact, in a way,
Okay.
it kind of forced me to reevaluate a lot of things and change a lot of things. get better
Mm.
and this and that. So
Yeah. And you
oh,
and
so
you
yeah,
didn't
there
tell
you
one.
go.
Yeah, you didn't say one thing though. You didn't say that you don't take medication, which is amazing.
Well, no, I did take medication for many years actually, but and remember I was 27, right, when I got sick. So I I was so young. I didn't want the rest of my life to be all about medication. It's not just to like two or one medication. It's like 10 medications. And those medications have very serious side effects. I didn't want to be on medications for the rest of my life. So although I had to take them at the beginning because, well, you can't go from normal person to not be able to walk and function as a person. So I had to take something to calm down the the immune system right away. But over the years, I had to learn more about my disease, did a lot of research and a lot of reading, and just tried a lot of different things. And I knew one goal that I had, and I made that for myself, is that I didn't want to rely on medication to survive. I wasn't surviving. I was still just basically coping with it, but just with medication. It was only masking what's happening. But there's an underlying reason why it triggered, right? For any disease in general, there's always something that happened that triggered it usually. So it's sort of like, imagine a cup, right? Like every time you fill it a little bit, eventually it'll flow over. So this is kind of
Mm.
what happened. There are things that happened. And then 27 years old, whoop, it's too much, right? So you kind of unlearn a lot of the bad things, like a lot of the really stress that you don't need in your life, a lot of the bad lifestyle habits that you may have had. Like, I'm not saying that those things really are the things that made it happen, but as I said, every little thing that added up and then it toppled over, right? So it's kind of unlearning a lot of those things, changing my lifestyle in general, and understanding what was the stress triggers that, a lot of them you can avoid, or you can maybe try to remove yourself from the situation. And so I am now medication free for the most part. I still have medication sitting around for flare ups, which I will use, but I am, for the most part, on a daily basis, I'm medication free. And instead, I just manage it via lifestyle changes. So, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But
You took it, but you still take it like only if you need it, right? Like
yes,
it's like
currently is on needed basis. Yes. Yes.
because I had I have a friend, a colleague who is on it, and I mean he definitely has like um, over the years, right, lupus, and you can see that the medication, yes, they keeps him okay, I guess, but it has a lot of side effects.
Yeah.
Um, eyesight is one.
Yes, my cousin, she can't drive anymore because she's still taking
Yeah, he
medication.
can't drive. Yeah,
Yeah.
it causes blindness,
Yeah.
and I think it also causes your sensitivity to light, like you.
Yes. You can be in the sun. UV ray will make your
Yeah.
skin rash and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It's very like, that's why I don't want it. But at the
Mm.
same time, I guess it depends on how your condition is. Like, if you do let it progress to that point where you can't really not take medication, and again, it's hard for to judge someone else what they're doing, because like, I guess for me, I've had to take time off of work because I
Mm.
needed to heal and I needed to find ways to make it work for me. Like I said, it's not overnight. And I've, it's 27 till now. How old, how many years is that? Almost 15 years of me with this condition. So I would say the first, let me think about it. E- even after I married my husband, I was still dealing with a lot of stuff. It was not as regular, but it was still like, it still happened more often than I wanted. So like it took quite many years to even get to a point where I feel like I can say I am able to manage it with lifestyle, but I am still very careful with how I manage it. Like, you know, the
Mm.
overexerting thing that I would talk about in here is that um I don't know if you remember, but when I came to see you in the USA, so that 1.5 day was sort of like I had to prepare to my body and my mindset to get to the point where I'm healthy to come see you and spend the day and a half. But like after I came home, I had to rest a few days because that was like quite a lot happening for me already. So like
Mm.
for me, it was a lot of like I know there's an event coming up or something I had to do. So I would like leading up to this, I would like make sure I really take care of myself, get good sleep and all that stuff. And then I would do those activities, but then I come home, I'm literally recovering. So like um it's that's what I mean by managing. It's you understanding how your body works. I can't be like every day da, 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 da. So that's why I was so sick during my Europe trip. I was literally every day I was sick. Um
Mm.
because there's no way to rest when you're there and you're not at home and you want to sightsee and this and that. So like trips for me are a very big challenge still, which is why
Yeah.
Hawaii is always a good place because like you want to go out, you go out. You don't want to go out, you just lay in bed at home. Like sort of like you don't have to do everything, but certain trips you can't, right? Like some other trips you can't. You have to be on a schedule and constantly traveling, this and that on your feet, this and that. So
Yeah. Kind of makes
yeah,
sense. Like even for a regular, like a person who doesn't have what you have, you know, it's a very common comment or theme where people will say, you know, I'm going for this holiday, but when
yeah,
they are in the holiday, they fall sick because their bodies are not prepared for the holiday, right? They're just working, you know, trying to finish all the work before, but then when they finally the body just like after this event, it
yeah,
actually crashes. Like it goes like boom. But then you're sick during the holiday. Or another one is you're preparing for the holiday and you go for the holiday, but it's so intense, right? You're doing all these things because then your body's on like hyper alert. Then
yeah,
after the holiday, you come back to work, then you fall sick. Because your body says, okay, you're done with that craziness of 2 week traveling around Europe every single day. Chill. Boom, fall sick. That's kind of like a signal to the body to chill out. Okay, take your time.
yeah,
I always fall sick during the holiday. It's like maybe it's that you know you're trying to finish work, you're trying to prepare, you're making sure everything's okay. Then when you're actually in the holiday, like when I'm actually in the holiday, I'm like, oh, got flu, fever. The body just like, wait, I'm supposed to be on holiday. But
but
yeah,
yeah, it just I guess whatever the normal person feel, but like I really feel it.
yeah,
And I'm like literally not functional at all when I need to rest. I'm not functional. It's like you got to figure out your own dinner or this and that. Well, I mean, I maybe I find little spaces, like I have like that 1 hour where I'm like, oh, I'll just cook and so we can eat and then I'll just like veg for the rest
mm,
of the day. Like it's just like knowing your body, and sometimes you just sort of like overexert, but then you have to pay for it later, and you just have to be okay with that too. So yeah,
yeah,
because again, I refuse to rely on medication to calm down inflammation. That's just not a long-term survival
yeah.
tool. But I'll take it while I'm on a long vacation, let's say a 2-week vacation. I'll take it just because I know I want to be enjoying my time, like enjoying my time too. But I don't like it, I don't love it. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Okay, so you've done two. Let me share two very quick ones. Mine's quite random. So I'm afraid of heights. And in my 40s, so maybe like
Ah,
30, 39 and 40, like this couple of years, I've starting to develop a little bit of a fear of flying. So I don't know. I mean, I've been flying for years and years, right? Back and forth, Malaysia, Singapore, so many every single week. But I think because I haven't flown during COVID so much, like totally stopped flying, right? Like once every 9 months and do the quarantine and everything. Now that I'm flying again, I have a little like I realized it because I would sit on the plane and then things will be going through my head like, what if I die today?
oh my god.
Which is I have never had this kind of thought. I would be thinking like, okay, if I die, have I paid my credit card? Have I paid my my credit card because I don't want anybody to deal with that shit. Then I'll be like, okay, make sure, okay, I think my wheel's okay. I have these weird things going through my head every time I fly now. And when there's turbulence, I have a moment like, okay lah, at least I've done my dues. Yeah, I'm developing, sorry, a mini fear of flying, but it's not debilitating that I will not fly. It's just usually at the starting and the landing. Yeah, it's so weird. It is so weird. I don't know where this came from. Hopefully it'll go away. But I have a fear of heights, so I would not do things like bungee jump. I'm sorry. Those giant drops, not thank you.
What about those rides? You know, the roller coasters and stuff like that.
You know, as long as I'm strapped in, like tight, I think I'll do it. I'll do it for
Okay.
that moment. But it's not a choice. I would not do it. And then there are those, like, you know, nowadays the tourist attractions where you can go really high and then they'll have a glass panel and then you can step on the glass panel and look down at this beautiful cavernous hill and just admire as if you're standing and floating from the sky. No, thank you. Not interested. No, don't need to see it. Yeah, so I've never enjoyed it.
That's
Okay, let me
so
pull one
interesting
more.
that you develop like new behaviors.
Phobias.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting.
Okay, this one. So I used to smoke. I'm not sure if I talked about it. I think I talked about this, but I used to smoke when I was in college. So this is the rebellious cat that was like, yeah. Okay, anyway, I got out. I smoked for, let's say, I started in when I was 20. Okay, but after about 10 years, almost 10 years, I think I just got married. Then I quit. I just woke up one day and said, yeah, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. And I never smoked again. I just literally have this. I think I have a very strong on and off button, and it applies to many things in my life. So smoking was one of it, where I can literally will myself to stop. It was. I think I had maybe a very party night the night before, and the next day I woke up like, yeah, I think that's too much. I'm done. And I never smoked and I never got any weird. I got a couple, but I'll talk about it. I got, you know, people would say if you stop smoking, you gain weight, you'd be very angry, you would be, you know, things like that for months. I never got any of that. The two weird things that I got from quitting smoking just overnight, I remember it very vividly because my body was just detoxing. 2 weeks in a row, I had ulcers in my mouth.
Oh,
I was like, I developed like ulcers, like you know, I think it was body that was detoxing. I think so.
Yeah.
So I had ulcers in my cheek, my tongue, my throat. I was like, I'm dying. So obviously, I didn't have any cravings, right? Because totally, I was not able to eat properly. I was just suffering food. This was so horrible, and I had nightmares. I'm not a person that dreams a lot. When I sleep quite, maybe I do dream, but I just don't remember my dreams. But in those 2 weeks, I dreamt like a maniac. I dreamt I was chased by aliens, I was in car crashes, I had train wrecks, and I woke up remembering the dreams like, oh, so then I didn't have really good sleep for the past, like the 2 weeks. But other than that, after that kind of like 2-3 weeks passed, that's it. I never smoked again. So interesting, right? Everybody gets the difference in reaction when they quit something that's bad.
I'm actually really glad that you quit because smoking is just something that is so, I mean, it's so bad. I did my science project in high school on the differences between a healthy lung and a smoking lung. They look very different. It's not good at all. Yeah, that was my science project back then.
Yeah, and you know, smoking is a very social thing. So I smoke, my husband smoked, he smoked longer than me. But because we both smoked, we were smoking, like, "Rah, smoking," while we're dating. And then when I quit, I would tell him like outside and smoke. So he smoked for another extra year.
Mm.
And then because there's influence from me, he stopped as well.
Mm.
But he had the typical reaction from not smoking. He was angry at the most smallest things. I'll move something. He'd be like, "Why you move it? Why you move it?" I'm like, "What's your problem?" Like,
Did he
I
gain
don't
weight?
know. He didn't.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, because both of you are
we
very lean.
we exercise and a lot,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So he gained a little bit of weight because he was eating a bit more, but at the same time because he was also working out,
Yeah.
it sort of balanced out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a time. But yeah, I'm glad. And you know what? I'm glad as well because wow, smoking now is so expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was smoking, one packet was at most it already went up. Like one packet was like 7 ringgit, ringgit. Now it's 20 ringgit. It's like I cannot even imagine. Like it's just crazy, 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 crazy. I'd rather buy H.
Okay, so as I explained earlier, because I had to change my lifestyle and I tried so many ways to get better, like any therapy, any like, everything I tried, honestly, everything I tried. But because of all the research and just trying so many different things, some work, some didn't work, and it depends on the person, right? So for me, I've become a huge fan of what they call biohacking health. So stuff that you always hear, like, oh, is that a gimmick? But you don't know until
Mm.
you try. So I love things like red light therapy. I have machines myself. I've talked about it here and there to you guys. I am a big fan of intermittent fasting, which apparently I've been doing my whole life without even realizing. It's just called that, or it's also called restricted feeding, and that is a good way to detox in general. And it's good for everybody, not just for someone who's sick, but especially if you are dealing with some sort of condition. It actually is a really, really great way for your body to just have time to repair its cells and detox and stuff like that. And it's really up to you how long you want to do it. Anyway, I can talk about it like for hours and probably do a whole other channel just based on that. But anyway, there's tons of videos about that, so you don't need my input. But anyway, I love doing it. And just in general, eating clean, eating real
Mm.
food. Doesn't mean that I don't eat junk food. Trust me, I eat my junk food, but I always make sure like that I always eat real food first. So let's just say I skip breakfast and I eat only, maybe not, sometimes I don't even eat lunch, but it just depends on the day, right? So let's just say I eat between lunch and dinner, I eat like a meal, right? It has to be real food, like real meat, real rice, real veggies, all of that stuff. I eat real food and I am pretty full. Then I can have my treat. So I will always have treats only after I eat real food.
Mm.
Anyway, those are
Right.
just some things that I do. Like I probably try more than just this kind of stuff, but I'm a huge fan of biohacking.
I should try it. Maybe. It's a lot of work though. Okay. Mine's really quick. I had braces on and
Oh,
I've worn them for 4 times. The last was the Invisalign, the one that's now
oh,
popular. I wore first when I was 11, then I wore proper braces when I was 13, and then I wore it again when I got my wisdom tooth when I was 17. And I haven't worn it again, but then recently, in a few years ago, I wore for a short time because my teeth were moving a little. And according to the dentist, it's quite common when you get older, your teeth actually move forward because your face shape, as you get older, you're constantly changing, right? So your face shape moves a bit. So if you realize if you're older now, your teeth may be a little bit more crooked, it's because it's being pushed forward and your gums are, receding or whatever. So I wore my braces one more time just to adjust it a little because I'm vain. And yeah, I wore it for 4 times. I've worn the first couple of times was because it was more of adjusting my facial structure. Because if you see from the side, I have a little bit of this my lower jaw is like not protruding, but I have a larger lower jaw than a upper jaw. So In the younger years, it was more of adjusting it so that I can push the teeth in to open up the top jaw. Then after that, braces and all that. So it was a lot of work to get a nice smile.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I know people that have to wear braces. It's I feel bad because I've never had braces in my whole life.
which
I
is
have
so
okay
good.
teeth. They're not perfect either, but like I have pretty okay teeth to begin with. So I always hear about stories of people having to do this, do that, blah 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 blah. And obviously it costs a lot to get braces. And I do know for a fact that you do have to once in a while wear them again
Yeah,
over
you
the
have to because
years.
you're in. It's just not your jaw structure.
Right.
It's cosmetic, right? So your
Yeah.
body will naturally say, "Wait a minute," so
Going
it will
back to the
adjust.
way
Yeah,
it
going back
was.
to the original. So
Yeah.
it's fine. I mean, as I'm older, but I kind of like wearing bracelets actually. I had fun with it. So I like all the colors, and I'll be like, tell my dentist, I
Oh.
want black, yellow, black on all the metal braces. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay,
Strangely.
so about my health, and after that, I think we're done with my health. But basically, I still do get flare-ups. Like I said, it's a constant battle for me. It just depends on the degree of the flare-up. So, on my good days, I only have a little bit of pain. Like I can't open certain things, and like,
Mm.
my joints are what they are, but it's not so painful that I think about them. But on bad days, that's when I think about them, right? I'm thinking about them because they're constantly bugging me and this and that. But yeah, to this day, I still get flare ups. And it gets worse when I can't manage it properly. So, when by that, I mean like if I can't get a good night's sleep, or if I've had to do more things than I want. Like, for example, the trips, right? Trips, sometimes you just can't control where you're going, how long you're out for, this and that, and what you're eating. Even the eating part is makes a big difference. Basically, everything affects me, and
Yeah, you can't
yeah.
stress yourself out. You need a Tai life. That's why.
Yeah, but it's sort of like um you know what, it is what it is, and it's like how do you even get Thai life anyway?
I
Like,
know. You need a lottery.
yes, unless I win the lottery, then yes. Please let me win the lottery.
All right,
But
so
don't we
I
all,
mine
right?
is
Like, we all
true.
need
Mine's
less
about
stress.
this. Yeah, I totally, yeah. So anyway, mine was more like cosmetic because I'm vain. I just actually just did some work yesterday. I can see some spots on my face. I had some
Oh.
laser done because I'm vain. I'm vain. But anyway, I that zapped a few of those pigmentation away. But there's one thing that I know that I can never do. I will never be able to do any kind of major surgery. Like if I want to get all snatched in the future, I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen because I cannot do this kind of. I can't. My I have keloid prone skin. So when I have a deep cut, a cut that is a little deeper than usual, my body just goes, woo, we need to heal that wound very quickly, and it will create a keloid. So I have some strange wounds, like where is it? That I didn't even realize, but it's scarred. So I scar very easily and they don't heal smoothly. Plus, if they heal, if it's deep enough, they turn into a keloid. So, if I ever get like a facelift and they have to cut me up, I'd probably be like keloid all over. So, nah, not happening. I'm gonna live with this mug.
You say as if you actually need a facelift. You don't need anything done. So like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So,
I'm telling you, you can't fight gravity. Okay, so
oh
you
my
gotta
god, but
consider
we
like,
all do.
yeah. So my
Like,
my
even if you're
esthetician,
aging, we all are aging anyway. So we're all
my
getting worse.
esthetician asked me, do I want to do threads, facial threads, where they like, poke something through your face and they pull it up like a thread.
Oh my
And
god.
I asked my esthetician, is it deep? My esthetician said, yeah, it's deep, but you won't feel anything. And it's such a common in Singapore. It's actually very common. A lot of people do it.
Oh.
It's really subtle. It looks super good. And though my heart says yes, my mind says don't even try because I
Yeah,
know my
no.
body. I cannot have a cut. It's not wise. So yeah, unfortunately I have to live with this mug.
Oh my goodness, you're fine. I don't judge if you want to have something done is fine, but like I'm always scared. Like I watch
Mm.
some videos where like they have their face deform and or botch or whatever. I'm just like, oh my god, they were fine to begin with. Why?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
always
yeah.
think that, right? Like,
I love actually, I love watching those because they're like so
oh
crazy. They're
no.
like, no, I mean like no, not the botch. The botch obviously I
Oh,
pity
okay,
some
okay,
of
okay.
them, but like some of those facial transformations, you're like, you're so pretty in the first place.
Yeah, a
You
lot of people
look
are just
you look
normal people.
psychotic right now. I'm sorry with the lips like this.
I but anyway, like what other people want to do, I honestly don't care. But it's just unfortunate when you see the botched jobs and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
having to live with it, and just like that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, they were so pretty or so normal to begin with. There's really no need, honestly. Okay,
True.
so I am fluent in several languages, as you may know by now. In fact, four if I can count Mandarin. I can
Mm.
do much, like, I guess other than French, English, and Cantonese, I can do conversational Mandarin, and I actually do use it at work too. But French has definitely been. I am still fluent in French, and I can still work in a French environment, but I have definitely lost a lot of it over the years because it's been over 2 decades. I haven't
Mm.
used it and talked and been talked to in French on a daily basis. Unlike when I used to live in Montreal, even if I didn't have to talk to anybody, I hear it constantly. Like you go out of the door, it's like French everywhere. So it's sort of like I know I can pick it back up very quickly if anything, but it's just something that I do feel like, oh well, it is what it is. Vancouver, right? No one else speaks French to me.
Same as me, I think, when Malay as a language, because that's the first language. French is your first language. Malay is my first language. No, I haven't used it in since school. I'll speak to like shopkeepers and taxi drivers,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah.
it's just something that you need practice. You need to
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
All right, let me go. Okay, we're almost there. We might be over. We
Almost
might be over
there.
time a little bit, so just bear with us. We're so close to 25. Okay, so okay, this one very quick. I'm actually afraid of dogs because I was chased by one when I was young.
Oh.
I think it's the bigger dogs that scare me a little bit.
Mm.
But I do want a puppy in the future. I want one, but just that I need to. I'm starting to get over this fear, and this fear it's a childhood fear, right? Chased by it, fell down, cut myself, got a keloid on my knee, da da da. Until today, if I see a dog bark, right, and they start to run, I tell you, I just, I don't. I think I'll freeze. I'll be like this. Yeah. So stray dogs freak me out. I'm not afraid of like people's dogs, especially if I know it's safe. But if I see a stray dog chase me, oh my god, I think I'll run.
That's interesting
Which is
because I am afraid of dogs only because my mom's afraid of dogs. So I think she gave me that fear, but I've learned to sort of just ignore it. Like when a dog barks or whatever, I don't freeze, but I just pretend I'm still walking, or like, I
yeah,
just
yeah,
do
yeah.
something about it, like just
But if
to
they
not
if they
show the
chase
fear.
you,
Well, if
if
they
they
chase me, then
chase,
I'm dead. So I don't know what
yeah.
to do then. Okay, so if you guys haven't even caught up by like, how I was describing my life, I am in my early 40s as well, to be specific. Actually, my birthday's coming up in 12, is it 12 days? 12 days from where I am here. And I grew up in a time where there is absolutely no internet, no GPS, no cell phones. We did everything by the landline, like the calling where you have to like rotate the thing to call. And we had VHS tapes, we have cassette tapes. And honestly, it was such a simpler time when I grew up. I feel like when you wanted to talk to someone, you had to actually call them on their phone. And if they don't pick up, because it's not mobile, right? If they don't pick up, they don't pick up. You don't get to leave a voicemail. That is all.
Mm.
Um, and I loved it. And if you played, you go outside to play in the dirt, in the park, whatever. We had no such thing as like playing on the computer games and things like that. I mean, the only games we had was like the Atari at the time. As early as I could remember, it was the Atari, the first generation Nintendo, and back then those games cartridges, if they didn't work, you had to blow in them to get to put it back and try again, see if it works, because sometimes it won't show up on the screen. It's sort of like very rudimentary at the time. Like those are the very early days of computers. It's not even a computer actually, but like very simple times. And I love the fact that I grew up in those times where,
Mm.
yeah, you had to get a map out to figure
Oh,
out where to go. You had to read the newspaper if you wanted to know the news and things like that. And yeah.
those were the days. Yeah, same, same. Okay, so this one, I don't know how to explain. Okay, so I think I'm generally easygoing. I'm an easygoing person. I don't let things get into my way. But I had to learn this, huh? So I can talk about it now. But I was actually a little depressed in my 20s. So I think being that very competitive person, right? So very competitive, always, being a little hard on myself, blah blah blah. But you're hard on yourself, but different hard. I think I just have this like I cannot lose. I cannot
Oh.
lose. Yeah, I cannot lose. I cannot lose. I'm very competitive, and I think there's this achiever. Uh, in Singapore, it was kiasunas lah, huh? Very like ah. So I hit a few roadblocks. Okay, roadblocks in my 20s, and I think that is when I had a bit of depression. Um, it was tough, like for years or years, and in those days nobody knew how to take care of this, right? Nobody knows
Mm.
what is mental health, how do your parents take care of you. So I had to dig myself out of that dang hole, all right. And it was tough, right? So I had that spur of like 2 or 3 rough years, but it doesn't just things, when people talk about depression, it doesn't just happen like, oh, you're out of it, like no smoking, you're out of it. No, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of almost self with you have to do it yourself. All right, I know I'm
Yeah.
really hard on people who have depression, but I feel like if you don't want it, if you don't want to get out of that hole, you will not get out of the hole. So I think there was a turning point in my life later on where I just said, okay, that's it. Okay, this shit is ridiculous. and then that is only the start of the recovery. So I think it took a decent chunk of my 20s, early 20s and 30s, and that part, and then I'm out of it. But it has an element of competitiveness. I think because I had such expectations of myself that I could not believe, right, that I wasn't getting things. Some things were happening. I was like, oh, then you fall into this hole, like, why isn't it? Why da, 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 da? And next thing you know, you're like, oh crap, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Then you pull yourself out. So I think because of that, right, because I went through that in my 30s, I've developed this personality where I don't want those things to get into, like, I don't want those little things to make me sad. And again, like, I just really let life be, because it was tough. Like, if you really let those little things bother you and they build up, it can go downhill very quickly.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's why I think I developed this pretty positive personality, because I have seen shit. I have seen shit. I've lost friends. It's just really bad time. So yeah. So that's why I think I'm okay now. Yay.
Yeah, it sometimes it just takes you even admitting to yourself that it is a problem in order to change. That's the
Mm.
first step. Like a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of people that you know there's a problem because you see it, but if you tell them or you're concerned for them, they're very repulsed by it or whatever, it's because they don't want to hear about it. So
Yeah.
they
You
can't
can't.
you can't
You
change
can't.
them. They only can change themselves when they're ready. So
Yeah. You
yeah.
cannot change. Cannot change. You cannot tell me what to do, because
Yeah.
it's total block. Like, just
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I don't know anything. Don't talk to me. And it was bad. Like, but I was high functioning. So that's another strange thing. So I was depressed but high functioning, because I was in a I was working. I was still working when I was a consultant. I was there. I was in work. It's like the on-off button that I was talking about. So people could see like something's not right with this girl, but at the same time, you cannot, from a work perspective, you cannot say she's not doing her job, because she was acing things. She
Yeah.
was, completing the projects. I was high functioning, but I was unhappy. So really,
Mhm.
really, like, I just, so it took a lot of internal work to really pull it out yourself, but only you can do it. Like, seriously, if you have any friend who is going through depression, you can only be by their side. But if they don't want to get out of
Mhm.
it, very, very, very hard, very hard,
Yeah, I
very
helped you
hard. Yeah,
then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so yeah, now I'm easygoing, right? Ooh, easygoing.
Okay, so last fact that I wanted to share about myself, and I kind of alluded to that, is that even though I am an IT professional, it's not something that I'm super passionate about. As I said earlier, if I could have my dream job, which would have to do something, has to do with something like in fashion related. But it's okay because especially these days in this day and age, everything you need to know at least a little bit. And so I'm glad that I know more than just a little bit in order to navigate this crazy, super fast changing information crazy world. I mean, I look at my parents and they're having such a hard time. And I'm helping them, right? Like I teach them how to use their phones and this and that. But for them, it's about memorizing where to press it. If something happens, if a message happens and it goes like, "Oh, you need to update," they don't know what to do. So like
Mm.
it's sort of like I'm not super mad that I am an IT background, but at the same time, it's not my real passion, which I guess it's hard to explain unless you uh, I don't know. Like you said, maybe we all just get into some fields and you just kind of like didn't really know what you were getting into, unless you're someone who knew that you wanted to become this and that when you're old. But I wasn't one of those people. So.
Mm. All right, last one. Okay, this one I think maybe some of you don't know. So we always hear your sun sign. So
Mhm.
my sun sign. So you're born the month of March. So I'm born in the month of March. I'm a Pisces. So if you look at your character as a Pisces, I'm a certain character: dreamy, artistic, blah blah blah, friendly. But you have an opposite sign, okay, which is your moon sign. So you can check, like you go on online and you search, what's my moon sign? And your moon sign is because when you're born under the sun, there's also a moon shining on the other side of the world, right? So you have your moon sign. So my moon sign, I'm a Leo, which probably
It
explains why
explains a lot.
it
Yeah.
explains a lot. Like I don't understand why I am not a Pisces. I'm a Pisces because I feel like I get along with everyone, and I'm just like, I don't really let a lot of bad things, build up. But then I have this inner personality that I just don't understand. I'm just not so Pisces. So, and that's when I check my moon sign, I'm like, oh, no wonder I have this feistiness in me that I just cannot explain. I always thought it was brattiness, I mean, obviously that helps, but there is this sign. So, okay, if you read more about your moon and your sun sign, your sun sign is this sort of like outer thing that you have, right? Uh, I think so. It's your outer character, maybe your certain artisticness. You can develop your sun sign, but your moon is this intrinsic thing that's inside you. It's like subconsciousness. It lives in you. So when I read this, I was like, heck yeah, I'm a damn lion inside. But the fish keeps me calm. Okay, it pulls me back a little bit, but it makes sense because I'm so not Pisces. When people piss me off, I can feel like a fire, like a fire burning inside. I'm like, whoo. Then the fish says, "Chill, girl. Okay, you can handle it another day." I'm like, yeah, yeah.
So
Go
it's
read
kind of
about it.
two
It's pretty
opposite.
interesting.
Yeah, you know what? While you were talking about it, I was looking up my moon sign, and it's Scorpio, which it means that both my sun sign and moon sign are both water creatures, which because I'm a Cancer, and then a Scorpio, and I feel like they're both just very
Similar. There could be
sensitive and
something. You read the both. You read the two. Mine is total opposite. There are some people who are Pisces. That's why maybe they're like floating in their lives. But yeah, I have a conflicting. Not to some people say it's not conflicting, but it's conflicting, right? Because Pisces is certain type. Leos are the like go getter. Yeah, I gotta hone into my Piscesness a little bit more. But yeah, you're probably quite similar. Maybe that's why you're so steady, yeah? I am
I'm
all
very
over the
similar,
place.
yeah. Because my brother is a
Nice.
Scorpio, so I know like he's very calm, he's very sensible, he's very like I feel like yeah, that's why I don't have another very huge, I think, different side of me in a way. I feel anyway. I have
Yeah.
to read more about it, I guess.
Read about it's freaking interesting. All of you go and read about your moon sign. It really if you feel like why am I like I mean fine. I mean all of us have we develop our personalities as you get older. But when you read about like your standard area, oh you're Pisces, I'm born in March. But you feel like, hang on, how come I don't really follow those traits, right? Of a Pisces or or you as a Cancer. Then you read about your moon sign and you're like, whoa, crap, that is so true. I have another friend who did their moon sign and sun sign, and he was like, oh crap, yeah, that explains some of the internal turmoil that he has in his life.
Yeah.
But you need a few details. I think you need to know you need to know where you are born, your time of birth, and obviously the date of your birth, because they're kind of trying to figure out which moon you were born under at the time that you are born under the sun sign. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, they can say it's all airy fairy, but it's just a little bit of those extra info. Okay. Wow, we made it 10 minutes overdue.
I know.
Okay. Oh, well, we did it. 50 facts. Oh my gosh. So
That's a
anyway,
lot of facts. Yeah.
that's a lot. We didn't manage to get through anything, but we hope you enjoyed that. And thanks, Mel, for creating this. It's nice to share. Yeah, nice to share and talk about stuff. Yeah, we will see you next week on our channel, on my channel again. Next week we have guests. So as we told you,
next few weeks we have guests.
Yeah. Next few weeks it is a full month of just guests and guests. We've got GPS. I am GPS coming. I know all the H lovers are like, yeah, we love GPS. Okay, so he's coming on Amy's channel. We got Jerusha is joining us as well in a couple of weeks. But next week we've got the four of us. So Isabel, who is going to be a mommy. So this is going to be like maybe it's going to be a while because she's going to be so busy. Her life's going to change.
Yeah.
So Isabel's joining us and Clara as well will be back. So we're going to have some chit chat, talk about some topics. So yeah, it will be really, really fun. Till next week, my channel. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.